Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Ridin the Storm Out. As you can see next to me, my partner in crime, Dan Fisher, is back from his extended trip doing Black Robe Regiment presentations across Utah, Colorado, and Idaho. And actually, Dan and I are just sleeping off a hangover after all the credit we're dealing with in society and the battles.
I wish.
The only way we can deal. No, just I understand that we've got a very exciting show today. And if you're a current follower, then you're probably saying, well, that'll be a first to actually have an exciting show. But I'm actually a little bit fearful to go into today's show for what we might experience. Dan, what are we doing today?
Well, this is going to be a new experience for us, Paul. Here's what's going to happen. This is going to kind of be like a man on the street podcast.
Okay.
What's going to happen is our executive producer, Mr. Dave, has put together some TikTok videos for us to watch of probably some really stupid stuff that deals with the state of our culture.
Yeah.
And what he wants is our immediate, uncensored, raw response. And we've never seen any of these videos, so we don't have the slightest idea what we're going to see.
I accidentally come across TikTok, I guess, on when I'm checking social media.
Yes.
I don't have TikTok, but I guess it comes up on your Facebook page. I think somebody sees some of these videos. I am amazed at how many people are obsessed with with filming themselves doing absolutely
Stupid
asinine
stuff.
things and then wanting to spread it on social media.
Well, they'll take pictures of what they're having for supper. Who gives a rip?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. What are the odds? You mentioned that
pretty
this is
high.
David Hannon's idea.
This is David
our
Hannon's
producer,
idea.
David Hannon.
Yes.
What are the odds that David will still be our producer tomorrow?
I think the odds are really low.
Okay. Well,
And I'm taking bets on how long it'll take you before you say something that we have to actually bleep.
I'm holding my tongue as we speak. That is self-control. All right.
Sure.
Well, we're going to be staring at a monitor here and witnessing, as Dan said, for the first time, and you're going to see our immediate reactions. So I'm afraid. I really am afraid. I know it's bad out there because I see it all the time, and I'm just amazed at how depraved and stupid we've become. But I'm afraid that I'm going to be introduced to some new low level of depravity and stupidity.
I think there's a good chance of
Okay.
that.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and watch the first one.
We're going to watch the monitor,
Okay.
and then folks will be seeing it as we're watching it, and then we'll respond.
Okay.
Nobody needs you to advocate for how difficult it is to use gender-neutral pronouns. Nobody said that the gender binary was f***ing easy. These are not my preferred pronouns. These are my pronouns. You will use them, or you will not refer to me. At all. If you misgender me by mistake, fix it and move on. I don't need your elaborate apology. I don't care how many times you say sorry. Just don't do it again. Moreover, if someone else misgenders me, it is never your job to tell them that it's okay. 'Cause it isn't. I get it. The discussion of the gender spectrum confuses you, and that's fine. But if you don't know anything about it, don't f***ing speak on it.
It's not.
I like the hair. Orange hair. Orange is a good color.
Here's the deal. It's not the gender confusion that I have. It's the species confusion. I'm not certain what we just saw.
You know, the thing I know
was that a human?
It wasn't a bad look. I liked all the piercings, but what she should have done is pierced her top lip and bottom lip together.
Yep.
She had one through the
Right
top,
there.
one through the bottom. She should have saved some money and just one clear. Would have saved us all a whole lot of heartache and
And
headache.
she would have seemed much more intelligent than she actually did when I could understand what she was saying. All right, so basically what she's saying is that if we use the wrong gender for her, then she'll accept an apology and just never blanking do it again.
I hope that she doesn't ever talk to me again. That would actually be a blessing. You know,
I'm hoping she doesn't live in Oklahoma or Edmonton. It's what I'm hoping.
I'm amazed that these people get on here and actually think somebody cares. I mean, does she really think that this, and what's also sad is how many years of quality education that our age group went through.
She has obviously received.
We had to match, if you learn a Spanish or a foreign language, you have to match the gender. You have to write the right gender. Of course, that's what they're doing Latinx rather than Latina and Latino because we now are denying gender, but I refuse to play that game. We've got a male and a female bathroom
No, it's
in our
exactly
church.
right.
If you're not sure which one, you're welcome to go outside and use a tree.
You know, here's the deal, Paul. I know that there are people who actually have this gender, what do they call it?
There's
confusion, for lack of a better word.
Well, there's hermaphrodites
Phoria.
for one. I mean, that is a literal, but it's like.
Well, I do believe that there are probably, I think it's a very, very small number of people, percentage-wise, who may actually have gender confusion in their minds. But I think what's happening here is we're creating gender confusion where it doesn't exist, and then it's happening among children. And, you know, all kids go through periods of time when they're young where they don't really know what they are. I mean, they may know the body parts and all that, but you'll have tomboys and you'll have boys that'll sometimes play with dolls and all that. We understand that that's a natural part of growing up. But unfortunately, our culture is taking yo-yos like that and using them to confuse people.
Let me ask you this. Did my coach have gender confusion when he used to say, Blair, you play like a girl? Is that what
he
gender
was speaking
confusion
the
is?
truth. Probably some of the greatest truth you've ever heard.
In all sincerity, this is a true story. We had a guy on our football team at Oklahoma State.
Yes.
That was he was a backup defensive lineman, and he looked really good. I mean, he was in great shape, but was not a great player. No, this is great. This is Pat Jones. Anybody remembers Pat Jones?
Okay, all right.
Pat was the assistant head coach.
Yeah, so
when
he
I was
looked
there
like
in
a
Jimmy.
real professional.
Yeah,
I mean,
and Pat went off one day. And of course, Pat's the only guy that could cuss, and it was funny. You know, because he stuttered. He sounded like Elmer Fudd throwing a fit. But you'd just crack up. You wouldn't do it in front of him, because you've been running stadiums.
Right.
But he said, G-D-N. Then he called the guy by name. You look like Tarzan, but you play like Jane. I
So there was
promise,
some
I swear.
confusion.
Must be gender confusion. I'm
Yeah.
not sure whether it was Pat
Yeah.
or whether it's a particular player, but I mean, that's the only gender confusion I'm aware of. I mean,
Well, you know, sadly,
Yeah.
and I think some of the other videos we're probably going to see, I don't know what they are, all of these are going to illustrate something blatantly clear.
Yeah.
They're going to illustrate the correctness. I'm not. There's another word for it.
Political
Accuracy
okay.
of Romans 1.
yeah.
Of Romans chapter 1.
Yeah.
That we're just nuts.
Yeah.
We're just totally nuts. And it starts with Ronald McDonald that we just saw. With the,
Orange hair, yeah. And is it not? I mean, I couldn't help but think, as you were saying about Romans 1. Is it not as it was in the days of Sodom, or days of Lot, and as it was in the days of Noah?
Jesus warned. He said, just
My
like it was in the
heavens.
days of Lot.
I never thought we could be where we're at. I mean,
No.
we had the sexual revolution in the 60s. We had all sorts of nonsense in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Then they had the push for homosexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got, I don't know, I'm afraid of what happens next. If the Lord tarries, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about that. Next video, that's all we can do on that.
All right.
We've
Was
got
that good?
4 more. I can't take 4 more,
Okay.
David. I can't
He's
take.
going to
okay.
need a heart pill here in a moment.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to love the last one. Great. TikTok. This is the Chinese.
There
social media.
are non-binary
Orange
people.
hair.
There are trans men who lactate. There are those who go by he,
There are men
him,
who
different
lactate.
pronouns. It's just inclusive to everybody. It is not hurting cis women to say chest feeding, but it does hurt those who go by other pronouns to continue to say breastfeeding, especially if they have body dysmorphia.
What's something you own that you don't ever plan on using?
My uterus, because and I mean this with all disrespect, them kids.
Cupiosexual people may decide to have a sexual relationship despite not feeling sexual attraction while others don't. Both are completely valid and communication is key.
Was that the
What
Phantom
are your
of the Opera?
preferred pronouns? They, them. Oh, I've never heard those before. What are they? They're what's known as neopronouns. What are neopronouns? They're basically your own custom pronouns. When no other pronouns seem to fit, you come up with your own pronouns. Anything can really be a pronoun. Oh, how do I use them? It depends on the person and their pronouns. They, them follows a
able to
similar
take
spelling
This
to
was
they
also
and
that was
them.
obviously filmed at a clown
and even
festival.
similar grammar rules like there and there. So
Putting on
they,
makeup.
them, themself, theirs, things like that. Oh, okay. And there are
what?
other neopronouns you said? Well, yeah, because they're customizable. Anything
Is she
can be a
talking to
pronoun,
herself?
really.
I mean,
Oh, I didn't realize that you can.
Is this the
customize
same
your own
person?
pronouns. That's pretty cool. Thank you.
you're so welcome.
You want me to handle this?
Well, I used to
you
work
got?
around rodeo hands when I was growing up. Those guys didn't just cuss; they made up curse words. Now you can only imagine what that sounded like. I mean, you can think of all the 4-letter words that you know that are really off limits. They made new ones. It was a crazy. So she is saying that you make up pronouns. Then something. I didn't quite follow that. All of these were obviously filmed at a clown festival because they're all getting dressed.
And everybody's
they're
got
getting
orange hair.
dressed,
Yeah.
and they're being filmed while they're getting dressed.
I think
Handle it.
Let me help with this. Okay. There are boys and there are girls.
Yeah, well,
Boys have a nutsack and a penis. Girls don't. In fact, they've got a vagina and boobs.
now, is that
End of story. Factually true.
And so when
if
they
we're looking at
feed-
biology and science,
so when they feed a
Closed case, that's it.
child? Is that breastfeeding or is that chest feeding?
it is. I refuse to be politically correct. I went through too many years of education when Edmund actually had a quality education.
Yes.
And when it's important that you use the right gender in speaking and the right pronouns. I refuse to give ground on this. I will not call any obvious woman a he or a she. I will not call any obvious man. Any obvious man a he or a she, or any obvious woman whatever the heck
You're
I'm
really-
trying to say. My head hurts.
We're only
I will
2
not
in
call it.
and
I
you're
will not
confused.
call any man a woman or any woman
There
a
you
man.
go. Now you got it.
I can't. There's so many things I want to say, but I just can't.
I understand. Yeah. Could somebody give him a Coke or something to kind of calm him down a little bit? Do you need an
I
aspirin?
can't stand this.
Let's go.
I am absolutely beside myself.
Hi, I'm Jax, and I just
Oh.
came up with new neo-pronouns that combine he, him, she, her, and they, them, okay?
I can
So hear me
combine
out.
she and it.
They, them, theirs, okay? They, them, their, whatever you want
That's
to
the
consider.
pronoun
They,
we'll
Just
them,
like
use.
the first one. The,
Their.
okay?
The,
This
them,
combines she,
theirs.
he, and they,
People in
right?
the South have
Theirs.
been doing that for
They.
decades. Them.
The.
We're finally correct.
Mom and
That's
them.
what they said. You know?
My
That's what they
English
said.
teacher used to
Next, we got
correct
him,
me when
right?
I used
okay,
theirs.
so then we got, that's just combining them and him. Them.
What is that?
You know?
Is that?
I went to a movie with him the other night. Last one, theirs.
You know,
okay, it's just like
I
theirs.
could grow a mustache like that.
But
was
like
like
also like
12,
hers?
and nobody called me a man.
Theirs. That jacket's theirs. Yes, this just sounds like they them
Is
pronouns.
that
I want to
drawn
get a
on?
shot.
The
get a-
new
I need to
ultra
find a shot of
scientific
me
method.
from like 5
We
years
have
Is
ago.
that
also
drawn
the-
on
And I
or
want to
glue?
show them what
Oh,
a real
well.
mustache
Everybody
looks like.
gets you the them theirs today.
Only Tom
yeah?
Selleck and Mike Ditka and me. We
Could-
can pull off a mustache
could you-
in 2020.
But could
What?
you do the hair like that and heighten your voice?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, if you kick me in the nuts hard enough, I could probably hit that octave. In fact, after watching this, I want you, somebody, please, put me out of my misery. I had somebody, I actually was in a social media, we posted something the other day that was obvious, supporting one of our state senators, and obvious in this deal.
Was that
Somebody
one of our
comes-
state senators?
No,
Oh,
probably.
oh,
Probably
okay.
can't. And somebody tries to respond, no, there's actually more than male and female, and you know it. There's intersex. I said, no, there's
No, there's male and
natural,
female and
then-
morons.
Well, that's it. I said, listen, we've known. There was a wonderful Christian man that speaks. He's an evangelist around the world. He was born without legs or without arms. Now that was a genetic malformation.
No, of
There are
course.
people that are born with 6 fingers. Actually,
Yeah.
more routine than you think. That's not
There's
a
some
new
people born with
species.
really big brains.
There are people that have been born with 2 heads. Seriously, no, seriously. That is absolutely true.
There are some born with less than one.
But you don't call that if there is a hermaphrodite, which
Yeah,
there are.
sure, there
rare,
are. It's very, very
that
rare,
is
but
a
it can
genetic
happen.
malformity. That is not natural.
Right.
Normal and natural is either XX or
No, of course.
XY.
That's exactly
Period.
right.
When we used to worry about correct answers in math and science, and we used to actually feign that we were pursuing truth, we knew that. In fact,
Yeah.
you know what's funny is, as I saw a video not too long ago, Bill Maher had Dennis Prager on, like in 2018. And Dennis Prager was talking, of course, in front of Bill Maher and his audience, and he was talking about menstruating men. And Bill Maher literally mocked
See,
him
that's
and laughed
impossible.
at. Well, that's it. See, in 2018, even Bill Maher thought thought that was absurd.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think he still
does. He still
But
does.
His whole audience was absolutely oblivious that this stuff was really going on.
Yeah.
Now, Dennis Prager, being a sharp guy that's up on these things, knew that was
He knew
coming.
it was coming.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
But that's how some of these guys that are just honestly wrong, they're honestly liberal, I think they're ignorant. I don't think they realize what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And people, well, I'm not.
Well,
I'm
here's
not
the
gonna say
thing,
anything
Paul.
else.
I think what these videos are showing, besides just the warped component in our culture, I just keep hoping and praying that this is a very small percentage of
It
people,
is.
and they're just being blown out there
Well, here's
by,
the thing.
by the
We
media.
do know from some of the sermons and things we've done, up until just a couple of years ago, the homosexual population as a whole was less than 3%.
Yeah, but it's not now.
Oh, but see, that's the thing. That you cannot reproduce homosexuals. So you have to recruit homosexuals.
No, that's
Stephen Black.
true.
We've had Scott Lively, Peter LaBarbera. We've got friends that have been in this ministry for years, and they've told us this is coming. The Man-Boy Love Association, that's no longer called pedophilia. Now it's minor attraction syndrome. They don't even call they went from pedophilia to minor attraction disorder. Now it's minor attraction syndrome.
Well,
so that's a protected minority now.
Now, here's the thing. When you see these people, I mean, the minute the video comes up, you're going, oh, good grief. Okay. But what about the gal who is a member of the federal government at some agency, and right now I'm drawing a blank. She was being interviewed by, maybe is it state senator? No, it wasn't a state senator. It was a congressman, I believe. And he said, can a man have children and thus have an abortion? And that woman said, without even pausing, yes. A man can have a child and a man can have an abortion. No. Now, a woman masquerading as a man can have a child and thus have an abortion.
You can
a
only
man
have a
can't
child,
have a
if you have a uterus.
That's
Only
exactly
women
right.
have uteruses.
Yeah.
If we're going to be
And
scientific,
ovaries.
Isn't it funny that the party that claims
To be the party of science when it comes to COVID.
can't get it right on abortion, can't get it right on COVID, can't get it right on climate change, and can't figure out how many genders there are?
Yeah, I understand.
What part of science do they actually? Oh, you know what? They left out a word. They're the party of science fiction.
Well, it's political science.
Yeah, political science fiction.
It's instead of popular science, it's political science.
We're going to be here forever. Go ahead.
It's just
hit
like
the next
political
one.
correctness.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry.
I know. We're good. I mean, we're already at time. We've got two more of these
Oh, this
things
is
to
number
endure.
4.
Oh my God.
Binary folks get pronouns
There
that
are no
point to who
binary
they
folks.
are, man or woman. But
There are
if
men.
the only pronoun
Oh,
that
there are men,
non-binary
there are
people
women, there's
have
nothing
is they,
else.
them, then that pronoun points to what we're not. We're not binary and we're not cis. And since pronouns indicate gender in the English language, if they was the only option that we had, then it could confuse people into thinking that non-binary is a third gender, as opposed to a multitude of gender experiences. And what I love about neopronouns is that they point to who we are. Some of them have meanings that are connected to genderqueer history, and others have meanings that reflect the
What the
individual's
Hades is that?
As our understanding of gender broadens, our language is broadening to accommodate that, because language is a reflection of the way we
I've
think.
got some language.
Now,
all
let me
right
ask you something. Would gender queer not be straight?
I think so.
Isn't that kind of like when you make instant coffee in the microwave, you time warp?
If I was, I think that, if I identified as a homosexual lesbian,
Well, see,
I just confused myself.
see,
I can't even go
for
down there.
years I've been a male lesbian.
Yeah, that's it. If you're a male lesbian, then you'd be straight, right?
You're straight.
Okay.
Yes. So
You know what? Here's the thing. And by the way, if you are a pastor watching this,
I hope.
oh
I
my
pray
God.
to the Lord you are.
Your churches have to be. You have to hold on to the truth. You've got to have some place of
That's
sanity
exactly
in an
right.
insane world. And under no circumstances can you conform to what is factually wrong. The whole idea is to teach. The whole point of education is to align people's thinking with that which is true. The whole point of morality is aligning our spiritual thinking with that which is true.
Okay, here's what concerns me. I'm not afraid, at least right now, of most pastors actually saying, hey, this is good or this is correct. Here's what I'm afraid of. Well, or they apologize. They're apologetic, and they start trying to, quote, meet people where they are. Well, we ought to love them where they are. Jesus died for every one of these people that we're watching. But my concern is that pastors will become apologetic, and because they're apologetic, and I don't mean apologetic as in biblical apologetics.
Right.
I mean, they'll actually become apologetic, and they'll go silent on the issue, or they'll apologize. And that basically adds fuel to the fire. I mean, we have got to hold the line
modern
strong
age,
and bold in
you
this stuff.
you and I have talked about for years about George Barna's research, and only 6% of those people that identify
but
as
the
being born
preacher
again Christians.
information is worse.
Well, only 1/3 of preachers. He did a test on evangelicals.
I know.
2/3 of preachers don't have a biblical worldview. In other words, they don't have the biblical truth when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to economics, when it comes to government, when it comes to all these other things. They try to hold on. In fact, I'm sure that what they say about the Bible is probably a soft, squishy, love
let me
means
tell you
never
something that's worse
saying
than
no.
that. The black evangelical pastors, only 9%. And Roman Catholics, priests, 6% have a biblical worldview.
Wow.
And of course, they're pulling the number way down. Now, there was a positive in the study, and that was that among Southern Baptists, I know we're not technically Southern Baptists, but we believe pretty much identical. Southern Baptists, 78%.
Really? Well, that's good.
So
I'm
what's
surprised
happening
at
though?
that,
But me too. But here's the deal. See, the black evangelicals. It's not intended to be any kind of a racial statement. It's just what the study showed. And the Roman Catholics are pulling down the curve.
You know what's sad? You know what's sad? Up until the sexual revolution in the 60s, the black family was the stronger family unit.
I understand.
When you compared white families to black families were stronger and more grounded morality. But the sexual revolution was targeting the family.
Well, and they bought into the Democrat nonsense,
Yep.
and the Democrats are committed to the destruction of the nuclear family. BLM was an extension of the Democrat Party.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. In fact, we have slides that when you donated to the to BLM website, it took you to Act Blue, which was the Democratic Party fundraising mechanism.
Right.
But anyway, we're out of time.
I know, but this is why I don't apologize now for saying you cannot be a committed Christian and vote Democrat. You cannot do it.
Understand what Christian?
You cannot do it.
What does Christian mean? Just praying an empty prayer and not meaning it? That'd be like saying "I do" at your wedding and then going home with a maid of honor rather than your wife. If you commit your life to Christ, if you trust Christ as the Lamb of God to paid for your sins. And if you surrender as Lord, then that means, the term Christian itself means follower of Christ.
Yeah.
Well, when are we supposed to follow Christ? When we come to church on Sunday mornings? No, we're supposed to be following Christ in every area of our lives, 24/7.
Well, let me tell you, a statement that's going to become more and more important as the months go by is, out of 1 Corinthians 6, such were some of you.
Exactly
such
right.
were some of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I can take. I don't know if I can take this.
If
can't
it isn't,
take it.
I will no
quit.
longer be a teaching pastor
Call
here. I'll be the
Sue.
senior
I
pastor
want my
because he's going to croak.
resignation. I'm out of here. Yeah.
All right,
Okay, what do
let's
we
see it. This is number 5.
Hi, I'm Nadine, a sex educator.
And I'm Eva, a sex researcher.
I use the pronouns she and her because I'm a woman, and when I was your age, I used to be a girl.
Gender is how you feel on the inside about whether you're a boy or a girl, a man or a woman. If you're non-binary, feel like neither or both. People can also be fluid, feel more like female, more like male, based on a different day or time. It's really individual.
Somebody's
Everyone born with a vulva is a girl. True or false?
Everyone born with a
Or identify.
Of course, yes. You're born with a vulva. You're a
Not
girl.
everybody is sure, and that makes
I'm
sense.
sure.
But our genitals actually don't determine our genders.
Wrong.
Vulvas.
Wrong.
Is she claiming to have
Wrong.
once been a guy?
Wrong.
Has she always been a girl?
No, she said she used to be a girl. I don't know what she is now. She said she was by her. It's confusing to even listen to these people. That is child abuse.
I just started to say that. That is exactly right.
And anybody that would allow their child to be to take hormone blockers or hormone enhancers that aren't consistent with what they were born scientifically, factually.
Well,
anybody that would allow
forget about
surgery,
the genitals, the chromosome count.
Oh, sure. But and if anybody does surgery, that is absolute child abuse. And quite frankly,
well, let me tell you, if I'd been there, it'd have been assault and battery. It's what it would have been. See, I don't think I could be a parent of young children today in public school.
Hey, let me tell you
Because the
what.
first time I heard about that happening, I'd go down to that principal's office, and he and I would go to Fifth City.
Folks,
I don't think I would just sit down and be nice.
If you don't think this is going on in your school, you're fooling
What's
yourself.
happening here in Edmond?
Exactly. And the first day of school here in Edmond, they sent out some form for the students how they wish to identify. It's everywhere. Any school that's getting federal funds, which first of all, that's a misnomer. There's no such thing as public funds.
They don't have any money.
The government doesn't have
any
any
money. They get it from us.
Exactly. It's our tax dollars. They have no money. But see, that's how we've been trained. We've been trained to think that they're giving us something that belongs to them. No, this is our money. But everywhere there are public funds attached to education, I can assure you this
stuff
is being taught in your school to some degree. Some school districts worse than others.
Yeah, of course.
But if you are a parent of a child of school age,
Get them out of there.
You're just fooling yourself.
Get them out of there.
You're fooling yourself. You know what? Being parents hard work.
Of course
we've got too many parents today that just want to be part of the parent club. They just want to be able to say, "Oh, here's a Facebook picture of my kid." No. You're supposed to raise your own children. You know, and if that means private school, great. If that means homeschool, great. But the Bible commands specifically, raise your children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, you're disobeying God, just as if thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit murder. It says, thou shalt not raise your children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. So if you're not doing that, you're disobeying God.
Well, and what is happening, of course, and you know this, it's been going on for a long time. Parents have so committed themselves to materialism.
Yep.
Now, we can all be guilty of that. I can probably be just as guilty. Let me tell you, when my wife and I decided to start having children, we made the decision that she was not going to work outside the home until our kids were old enough to go to school. Here's the deal. It cut our salary in half.
Yep.
We lost 50% of our salary. So when people say, well, that was easy for you. No, it was very difficult for me. But you know what God started doing immediately? He started replacing that salary. I didn't expect things to change, and they did. And then when our kids were finally old enough to start to school, the only way that Pam would go back to work is she taught in the Christian school where they went, which was another huge sacrifice for us. So this idea that only rich people can send their kids to Christian school, that Christian school where my wife taught and my kids graduated from, was basically populated by children of middle class people who couldn't afford to do it, but they made the sacrifice to do it.
And generally, those schools will find a way to help you.
That's
there's
exactly right.
Scholarship programs. There are wealthier parents that donate to help those.
Of course.
So it can be done.
And let me tell you
doubt.
now, I'm the proud father of a man who is married and has 3 boys, and he's a doctor, and to a woman who is married and has 3 children, and she's a nurse married to an aeronautical engineer. And here's the deal. I am far happier with the outcome there. It was really no sacrifice. Just imagine if we'd not made the sacrifices and our kids had turned out to be like those fruitcakes.
And you think about the return on investment.
That's what I'm saying.
I paid private Christian school tuition,
and it hurt,
for 2 kids for 12 years, plus college, plus law school. And now chiropractic college. You know what? I'm with you. Both sons are married, have great families, got grandsons.
And they have boys and girls, don't
they? Yes, they have boys and girls.
They understand it.
Yeah, absolutely, without doubt.
Yeah. So the sacrifices were there. So I'd say to people, man, make the commitment.
And it's not just in school.
Gone too far here.
They're going everywhere. They're trying to come after your kids in school. They're coming after your kids on Netflix, on Disney, all the modern media. Everything's out there. Make sure and your children know the truth.
Well, Disney just doubled down this week on another deal that they released. They doubled down and even after they're losing all these subscribers and everything, they doubled down and just released something or are filming something. I'm not up with it. I've got to go back and look this week.
And that goes back to your lesson on ESG scoring.
That's
this is getting into all these corporations. In fact, you noticed a couple of weeks ago, they tried to delist, or they did delist Tesla. They're coming after Elon Musk, the wealthiest man on the planet, because he's not playing the political correct game.
And he is a slight environmentalist. That's why he's into electric cars.
He's not exactly a right-wing conservative Christian.
I mean, he's not. He's not a left wacko.
He would be, I think, more of a, I don't know. He would have been. He was a Democratic voter. We know he's a Democratic voter.
Yeah.
He was libertarian leaning, that's the word I was looking for. But the reality is that he's a guy that holds on to truth. I mean, he's more libertarian leaning, but when he comes face to face with what is
he
obviously
actually
wrong,
understands science.
what's
He really
obviously
does
wrong,
understand
he
science.
says, I can't go there.
No,
I've
that's
gotta
right.
go
That's
to-"
exactly right.
He's a registered Republican now. I saw that today.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but
yeah. But
okay.
maybe
So,
it's coming
Mr.
around.
Producer, now where do we go with
Golly, I need aspirin.
this? Yeah.
Well,
I think you need a shot.
Well, you know what? Down to my office, to the liquor cabinet. Yeah.
Now, having been a Christian most of my life, I've never had a drink. But you, that's a different story
I've
altogether.
got a much livelier testimony than you do. As a matter of fact, as a professional football player and as a college football player, I actually did a considerable amount of research on the sexes.
Well, and so you know.
I understand. I've been in showers with teammates, and I know what men look like.
Yeah.
And I've seen cheerleaders, and I know what women look like.
I'll say.
And there's only two options.
There really are.
There's only men. There's only women.
Well, this podcast has been a little longer.
And quite
than
frankly,
some.
I hope it never airs.
But I
because
think
our
it has
ministry is
been
liable
fun.
to be over after this.
Well, yours especially.
Mine definitely is over. Well, mine was over before it began, really.
So
it's the reason I've been outspoken. I've been trying to get fired for 21 years.
I understand. Well, I think you're close.
Okay.
But I would say this to kind of wrap it up. You know, we've been preaching about this stuff for years.
Yeah.
And people have said, "Oh, you guys are just alarmists. You're just over the top. You're just all about politics. You know, preach the gospel. Why don't you?" Well, we do.
Yep.
Well, we're actually being vindicated.
Oh, absolutely.
Paul, everything that we've been predicting for the last 20 years, and I'm no prophet, but everything I've been predicting, I had a man come up to me the other day and he said, Dan, I got to tell you, everything you've been preaching for the last 20 years, I at times would think, man, I don't know. Everything, unfortunately, has happened just like you said. It's where we are. We better hold the line strong and protect our kids, protect them.
Well, I think that's all I can stand for this week. I can't. All I can stand no more. We may be back next week. I don't really know. I might not come back to the office tomorrow, actually. But David, thank you for a wonderful idea. You've ruined my day. It was already bad enough.
And you have to teach tonight, so you're going to really be fired up.
You want to close this? I don't think I can land the plane.
Yeah. Well, here's what I would like to say. That's actually maybe an improvement. Here, let me close this by saying, even though this has been a different kind of podcast, I think it was a great idea, Dave. I'll tell you. And I think what it is it's kind of shock treatment. Sometimes those of us who are pastors and we've grown up in church or whatever, or we're around, Paul is actually himself now, and we've grown up around this, it's hard for us to believe this stuff's really happening, but it really is. And I think the shock treatment's good. So let me just say, for those of you who've joined us, thank you so much. Join us again next week on our podcast.
Join Dan and David again next week
Right.
on the podcast. I'm down here.
Riding the storm out. Until then, God bless you guys. Hold the line. Preach the truth.